Well, welcome back to the radio room. Just kind of hanging out here on a Saturday night. Had this radio that you're looking at right here come into the radio room. Don't know anything about this radio. It was dropped off to our club, and I don't even know who owned it. The previous owner dropped it off. I think it was more kind of a, hey, if you guys get this running, have at it. Don't know hardly anything about this radio. I did find a manual online, and it's definitely a unique radio. It's a SBE Sideband Engineers Model 34. From what I'm understanding, it could be either a base or mobile rig. It's able to be run off of 12 volts. It's got two transistors that act as an oscillator to simulate some AC in order to run it off a DC, or it does have a power cord, or in this case it's kind of got a power cord. Anyhow, SBE Model 34, it's a sideband, upper sideband or lower sideband rig, 80, 40, 20, and 15 meters. I've honestly never even seen one of these before, never even seen a picture of one of these before. So we're just gonna kind of explore it tonight. Don't know how far we're gonna get on anything on this. I don't know if it works. I don't know anything about it. I'll just kind of go over a little bit of what I can see on here. We do have, I will just start down here, volume and on and off switch. Main tuning knob, and this is really an interesting tuning knob. If you'll notice, let's see if you guys can see the numbers here with my hand in the way. Yeah, you can. You have like a fine tuning, kind of right in there, and then it really moves. So then you can come back and kind of fine tune, and then it really moves. And if you'll notice, if we do get this radio working, that knob is just bent. We do have a dial correction here. It seems to adjust the, I'm going to guess this correction for this right here. Get it right on frequency from where the scale's at. We have our band selection, and from what I understand of the manual, consider this kind of like the pre-select. So right now it's all the way over. Here's our indicator, and we're in the 80 meter band, and you tune through the 80 meter band. Does have a stop counterclockwise. I can't go any further that way. But if I go this way, it'll click. Well, maybe it's the other way. This thing's a little stiff. Yep, there it goes. So now we're moved into the 40 meter band. You can see 40 written right there, maybe. Hopefully that's coming out on the camera. And you can pre-select through your 40 meter band. Another click, and now you're into 20 meters. And one more click, you're into 15 meters. And then feels like there's a pretty good stop right there. Let's see what else we got. Well, mic gain control. Like I said, this is a sideband. I think it's a sideband only rig. We'll have to take a look and see if there's a key jack on it somewhere. Got a speaker, built-in speaker, PA tune and PA load. So this is a hybrid model. It does have a solid state receiver in it, but the driver and PA are both tube, like a lot of other radios. I think this is probably mid-70s, early 70s. So you do have to tune the output on it. We do have an operate and tune switch, which does move back and forth. It feels a little off, but it does got a little bit of a detent to it. So, and then let's see, looks like X-mitter. So I believe, yeah, X-mitter. So I would say this is probably, you can turn it on, it's transmitting, you're good to go. It does also have a microphone with PTT. And that is, I mean, if the radio doesn't weigh enough to throw at somebody, I guess you could sling this at them and you could do some damage. There's some metal in there. Let's see here. Calibrate, on or off. So it does have a built-in calibrator, probably 100 kilohertz. And you can select between lower sideband or upper sideband. Now you do have a meter switch here between antenna and looks like plate current, IP. So, yeah, you know, a fairly all the controls you need to operate a single sideband rig. Not you know, a lot of bells and whistles or anything. We do have a pitch control, on or off. Not entirely sure how that works. Well, you can turn pitch control on, and I'm sorry I didn't get to this knob. You can control the pitch. From what I was reading in the manual, the pitch would operate somewhat like an RIT or a clarifier. So you can get the pitch right for what you're receiving, and it says change the pitch of the received signal without affecting the transmit. It's a clarifier or an RIT. So, and the mic just plugs in. It's got a pretty special little plug here. A little bit different than normal. I'm glad it came with a microphone if we're going to get this thing working. It's, well, that's a very unique connector. So we'll see if that works. I'm going to leave the microphone unconnected right now. And we'll just kind of spin around and take a look at the rest of the radio. I mean, the sides are pretty much, you know, pretty much not all that complicated. We do have our power cord here, so if we get around to testing this, going to have to find something to put on the end of that. We got two transistors here with a little bit of corrosion behind them. I'm not really sure if, you know, that might actually be dielectric, dried up dielectric grease. But I'm willing to bet these two right here, especially being this close to the cord, are probably the oscillator transistors if you ran it on DC. Another transistor here, Archer. That's an interesting find right there. Archer, and that number even looks right. That almost looks like it's probably a transistor that's been replaced. Because Archer used to come from Radio Shack. A lot of stuff from, if it said Archer, it was probably Radio Shack. So it looks like that's been replaced at some time in the lifetime of the radio. This antenna jack here does not look original, especially since the it's kind of on there crooked, and it's kind of covering the letters that say antenna. So I'm willing to bet either it had an SO239 and somebody changed it, or it's possible, and I've seen a lot of other radios that are older like this, that this could have possibly been like an RCA jack. And so somebody converted that over to an SO239 so they could put a regular UHF connector on there. This looks like it's almost kind of an add-on, but a factory type add-on, or at least an option. It is the 100 kilocycles. My correction, it's KCs, not kilohertz. 100K kilocycle crystal calibrator from Sideband Engineers. It looks like you pop this out somehow, and that's how you can adjust the frequency. So that would probably take some calibration, because this you definitely want calibrated if you're going to use it to calibrate the radio. It does have a carrying handle on it, which actually looks to be in very good shape. So, like I said, have no idea about this radio. So I think the first thing we need to do is get it out of its case, take a look at the inside of it, and see if anything looks odd. So let me get some stuff out of the way here, and we will take a look at it. I was kind of looking at this radio earlier. You don't really remove the panels like a lot of newer radios. You know, the case breaks in half. It looks like you undo 4 screws on the bottom, and it looks like it slides out the back. So let's see if we can get into this thing and go from there. So I'm going to change the camera view a little bit, and we will see if we can, I'll give you guys a different view here. The other camera is actually mounted to my work light, so sorry about the lighting changing. Let me see if I can get over to that one and still be in a good spot. Mind the camera a little bit. I'm going to move you out just a little bit so you can see a little bit more of what I'm working on here. Radio is kind of dirty. It looks like it's maybe had something glued to it at one point in time, right here and right here. It is missing. I would guess these are supposed to be feet. This might be part of how it worked on its mobile mounting bracket, maybe. It's just kind of a loop of metal, so to speak, a flat loop of metal right there in the center. So wondering if something slid in there, and that's kind of what held it in place, maybe on a mobile bracket. Alright, so 4 screws, and then I'm going to guess we slide out the back. Something kind of catching on the case. That gets us inside of the radio. Let me bring you guys down just a little bit. We'll take a look inside here. I am going to get the case out of the way and put it back on my turntable. Put the radio back on the turntable here. And we can move around a little bit. So really, so far, just from looking at it, it's not terribly dirty on the inside. We do have several, let me get that in view. We've got some electrolytic capacitors in here that don't look like they're really bulging. And I don't see anything leaking out of them. We do have another capacitor here, which doesn't appear to be physically leaking anything. Another one here. There's some down in here. The radio actually doesn't look that dirty inside. I'm not seeing anything that looks burnt. Or damaged. This is the bottom side of the radio. We do have our transformer right here. And our PA cage looks like it's right here. I'm not even seeing a lot of rust. It could be a little bit of corrosion, maybe surface corrosion on some of these. You know, looks like a potentiometer right there. Don't see really much rust on these crystals. I guess when they were soldering that in, they got a little hot right there, but it doesn't look bad. Let's see what the other side looks like. couple more electrolytics down in here. They don't look physically damaged. The main band switching right here, so this is probably tied to the main oscillator in there. Tuning. Tuning capacitor right here. Doesn't look to be in terrible shape. The only thing that kind of catches my attention, I'm not sure if y'all can see it. I think you can. Right here, this one fin of that capacitor is bent backwards. I'm not sure if that has something to do with maybe some tuning that they did when the radio was manufactured, or if it's actually damaged. Or it could have been something that somebody did just to kind of modify how it was tuning. Not seeing really anything burnt or damaged. Everything seems to be in fairly decent shape. Not a lot of corrosion. Not a lot of rust. Oops, sorry about bumping the camera there. That bulb might actually still work. The filament almost looks like it's still intact. So, let me bring y'all up here a little bit. We'll flip the radio on its side, and we take a look in through the side of the transmitter cage. There is the two tubes right here. Now, if this radio was plugged in and used, no touchy. There should be. There's probably going to be. If I was just glancing through the manual, I believe there's about 450 volts on these. So no touchy. But like I said, a little bit of surface discoloration, but a little rough, so maybe some corrosion going on there. That almost looks like maybe this metal is coated with something, and that might actually be where it's drying up, for lack of a better term. And we do have some controls right in here that I'm guessing, when we look at the case, I think those are controls. They don't really go to anything. We do have an adjustment right here that goes to a pot. But these holes right here don't appear to, well, yeah, actually they might. I don't know if y'all can see it or not. Right down in here there are some adjustment points. It looks like you can go in through the side of the radio of the case and get down into those, probably because they're not going to have a lot of room for an adjustment tool right in here. So it's possible this thing might work. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking maybe let's maybe not try the transmitter or something, but see if the radio even turns on. I'm gonna have to get something on here. But you know, that one little theme song, it's time to do some sketchy. Maybe we'll just try to put this on the dim bulb tester and see if it even turns on. See if it gets any static out of it, anything. See if the speaker works. If not, there is an external speaker jack right here, which is a 1/4 inch jack. So let me see if I can find something to get on here. And we will plug it in and see if, well, let's see if it even comes on. If it comes on, is it going to give us some static? Is it going to give us some sort of receive? Or are we about to have a nice light show? So let me pause, get set up, and we will, well, we'll plug it in, we'll flip it on, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so we're back and we're ready for some testing. Don't try this if you're going to, this is not what if this radio works, this is not the connector that I'm going to leave on here. This is one of those lamp cord plugs that just pierces the cable. I put that on there, check to make sure they're not shorted to each other or anything, and they do have conductivity to the appropriate pins. This is just for testing purposes. I would not recommend using this for a radio permanently. And it's plugged into the dim bulb tester right now, which you can see right back here. And I do have my Variac over here that we're going to bring the power up on now relatively slowly. So we should be ready to really test everything. I do have the dim bulb tester on current limit. So if anything goes wrong with this, the bulb should limit the current going to the radio in case there's a direct short or something. So we will just I'm gonna go ahead and turn the Variac up to, I think y'all can maybe read that. I think I'm going to start right around, let's go with about 65-70 volts. It's a little over half, so I might actually start just a little bit lower. I don't want to go too low. Some of this is solid state, so it might not even come on if the voltage is too low. But those high voltage capacitors that are in this radio, if they haven't had anything put to them a little bit in a while, I don't want to shock them just with full power all of a sudden. So, like I said, we are in current limit right now, and I do have the power off on the dim bulb tester, and I'm about to turn it on. The power switch is off, so unless something's weird about this, there shouldn't be anything. The bulb should not light at all when I turn this on. So that's a good sign. That means we don't have a short prior to the switch, which would basically be the power cable. So I'll go ahead and turn the switch on. Let's go ahead and watch the bulbs. I'll turn this off so we can see a little bit better. Let's see. Yeah, I'm blocking a lot of light, but I'll kind of move out of the way a little bit. I got some light from across the room that will shine on this, but you might be able to see the dim bulbs a little bit better. So about 60 volts on the Variac. The dim bulb tester is turned on, and I'm going to turn the power switch on, and we'll see what happens. Okay, we got a dim glow, and it's going down, which means we have that initial current surge from the capacitors charging, and we do have just a little bit of pilot bulb lit up right here. While I'm doing this, I'm going to be very careful and not really be touching the radio too much. Maybe just the body of it a little bit. But over in this area, I am not going to touch those two exposed plate contacts on those tubes. So we're looking good right there. I'm going to go ahead and bring the voltage up a little bit. I'm going to stand up and do this and reach over so I'm not too close to the radio. And we'll watch those dim bulbs while we bring the voltage up. Right about 80 volts right there. I'm going to go and give it a little bit of volume. That's about 3/4 volume. Got just a little faint red glow on the bulbs right now. I'm going to bring up the voltage. We're up to about 90 volts right there. Got a little bit of glow through the bulbs. Go ahead and come up some more. That brings us up to right about 100 watt or 100 volts. You can see just a red glow in the bulbs. Bring it up some more. I'm going to come up to about 110 volts. And I'm probably going to take it, I'm just going to go ahead and take it up to about 115 to 117 volts. There's 118 volts. Looks like I can see filaments. Unless I'm seeing the pilot lamp shining through the bottom of the tubes, which I don't think so because you can't see them, but I do see filaments glowing in the finals. And we might be limited on voltage just a little bit because of the dim bulb is dropping the voltage just a little bit. I'm going to bring it up to 120. About 119, 120 volts. We're glowing pretty dim on the bulbs, so I think we're in pretty good shape. I'm going to let it set here just a few minutes, a minute or two, and make sure nothing's going on. I'm going to turn the light back on so I can see if there's any smoke rising from anything. I do not hear anything. I can hear some scratch in the speaker when I'm playing with the I'm going to turn this off a moment. I really should have had this turned on with a dummy load into it just to make sure it wasn't transmitting. I do not believe it is. Right now I'm not hearing really any life out of this thing. We don't have an antenna hooked up. I do hear some crackle in the speaker when I change the band. I'm thinking, let's turn this off for a moment. Let me get an antenna hooked up to it. Just go ahead and kill all the power to it. And let's get an antenna hooked up to it and see if we can hear anything. It might be we don't have an antenna hooked up, so we're not even going to maybe even hear some static. I would expect to at least hear some noise in there, but I'm not hearing anything. So let me get set up with an antenna hooked up to it, and we'll see if that helps anything. Okay, so I do have an antenna hooked up to it, and the antenna system is currently tuned for 80 meters, so down here in the 80 meter portion, and let's go back to turning it on and see if there's any life in it. not hearing anything. Volume's all the way up. Sorry about the creak. Let's turn the calibrator on. See if that changes anything. I'm fairly satisfied that we don't have a whole lot of glow on the bulbs, so I am going to go to bypass, which will put the full 120 volts to the radio. We'll watch out for anything sparking or anything like that. Once again, we do have filaments glowing on the finals in the PA. And I cannot see, I think I can see a little bit of glow from the driver tube, but we're not going to transmit right now, and we're not transmitting right now, or there's zero power output if that's the case. So let me go to full power and see if that brings anything to life. Sounds like the audio amplifier is working. When I'm moving the volume, I can hear some scratching in the speaker. But I'm not hearing the calibrator. You hear some scratching from the pitch control. I'm going to say we don't have a working receiver. So that means we may have some work to do on this radio if we decide to go ahead and do it. We mostly wanted to go through on this radio today and just kind of have a little. Let's see if it even does anything. Does it power on? The light does. It acts like it turns on, so to speak. The only other thing I'm going to try, and I really don't think that this is going to make a difference, is having the microphone plugged in. I'm not real sure how the relays are working on this thing, but I would assume that you probably wouldn't have to have the microphone turned on or plugged in to make the receiver work, but it could happen. And no. Volume's all the way up. We have no static, and that could be some dirty relays in there. I'm going to guess this has relays probably for the transmitter, switching between transmit and receive, which could include a make or break on the antenna system. But I would still expect to hear some noise, just some background noise, noise floor of the radio, basically. No weird smells. I think it's really, if we decide to go on with this radio, it's going to be doing some diagnostics, doing some testing here and there, and see if we can figure out what's going on with why it's not working. And if we do, let's try to get this really wonky bent shaft maybe straightened out or something. Might have to take the vernier drive apart if that's possible and fix things in there. I'm guessing the bulb for the, unless it's supposed to be side lit from this bulb over here, I'm guessing the meter light does not work. I'm not even sure if the receiver circuitry is active right now, but well, we might have some work ahead of us. I do believe the audio amp's working. I'm not sure if y'all can hear that scratch, but that tells me that the audio amplifier is probably working. Since I do hear that scratch in the speaker. Nothing seems to be going wrong as far as I don't smell anything burning. I don't see any sparking, no smoke. So I think that's a good start. And it's just going to be trying to figure out what's going on. And it could be a bad transistor in there. Who knows? Just giving it the old tap test here. I'm going to use something insulated. That doesn't seem to be making any difference on anything. So I don't know, but it turns on. We'll find out, I guess, in the future if we go ahead and pursue on this one. We got a couple other radios in the next coming few weeks or so that I would like to work on. Some of y'all may notice Heathkit green back here. That's an HW 101 Heathkit, Hot Water 101 that I picked up. It's in very good shape. Comes with the power supply. Hasn't been on the air in, from what I understand, 3 or 4 years. But I'm probably going to, take the cover off, take a look at some stuff, see how old the capacitors are in it, particularly the power supply. I think they have the original 1970s cats in it, so we might do a little bit of recapping on that one before we just fire it up and play with it a little bit. But this thing was just kind of sitting in a box for the last several weeks since it came over, and wanted to see if it would at least turn on. Well, the light works. The audio amplifier, I'm pretty sure, works. There's just nothing getting there to make it work. So I guess we'll find out in the future if we get around to working on this radio. Just thought you might want to come along with the the adventure of just plugging a radio in basically and seeing if it's going to work or not. Doesn't seem to work. Maybe it's something we'll figure it out. Thanks for stopping by the radio room and enjoying the video with me, and we'll see you next time.